I thought this was a sick place to record, so here we are. I'm going to talk about revision and how you're going to balance that with the gym today. A lot of people, this is how they revise. They will go through the majority of their A level year, GCSE year, university year, pissing about, going out on the weekends if you're old enough, fucking around, playing video games if you're younger enough, and basically leaving it until the last like couple of months to actually revise, lock in like January, February. April, sometimes these people start revising, and that's like the normal people, let alone the people that don't give a fuck and start revising the night before, right? And then they think and they wonder why they get shit grades, right? And this, you could expect me to go down the route of, oh my god, you should revise earlier, which is definitely true. But they wonder why their physique falls off as well. You sacrifice everything to try and salvage the grades that you've undervalued for so long, and your physique crumbles, and everything else along with it crumbles. And then you know how hard it is to get out of a rut, right? You come back out of that, you've not been going gym for a few weeks, and it's so hard to get back into, and it's like no motivation. Your friends aren't going with you. You've got college and then work because for some reason you're still in college after your exams or some shit, and everything's so difficult, right? And when your friends don't go, you lose motivation. You just don't have the same like either priorities. They stop going, or like they can only go at certain times, and you can only go at certain times, and they never fucking match up, and it's peak. And when they do match up, you'll do legs, he's doing chest. There's no point. It's fucked, right? So here's the way to battle that, right? Because A levels, GCSEs are very stressful. They make it out to seem like that's the rest of your life for these stupid grades that no one really looks at on a CV anyway, right? But right now you think it's the rest of your fucking life. It's not, by the way, but that's what you think. So let me actually help you prepare for these. As someone who, let me walk over here really quick, has never got less than a B grade in his life. Yeah, I'm a pretty smart kid. I'm actually not really that intelligent, but I don't know if you can see those. A star, A star, A star, A star, A star, A, B, B. Never got less than a B grade in my life. That was GCSEs. My A levels are somewhere. Don't know where the fuck they are. And yeah, it's all because I managed my time really well. That was the only key. I started revising before everyone else, and that gave me an advantage not only in my academics but the rest of my life as well. That hot tub has a special place in my heart because that's exactly where I revised my A levels in that hot tub. No distractions, just me and my flashcards on my phone. Right, so this is how I want you to set up your year, because this is the key. You need to set up your year correctly. The first September to December, the first third of the year is like I like to call the first fucking sector. I'm trying to like hold the camera without blocking the camera. The first sector of the year, and this is where you're going to do a lot of original learning, your own learning around the subject, and also just learning from the topics that you learn in sixth form in your classes, right? Pay attention to these classes, because once you go over them once, you will not go over them again until before your exam. So you need to understand them. And the way that I understood concepts was not by memorizing them. I actually just tried to understand them. I know that sounds stupid, but most students you see, I feel like I've got a lot of veins at the minute, to be honest, so I'm just going to flex. A lot of students that you see will just try to memorize them, and hopefully that allows the memory to kick in, and then in the exam they could just regurgitate what they've heard. But if you know exams like I do, they don't like to do that shit. You will learn one scenario about a certain topic. So for example, I'll talk about my A-level biology class, right? Let me just think about something that we learned that I can fucking remember, right? So I remember the first fact about biology that I always remember is that trees, you can see trees in the background right now, their diameter of their trunk, so the big thick wooden part in the middle if you're an absolute retard, is thinner. Let me see if I get this the right way around. Yeah, the diameter of their trunk is slimmer, thinner in the day compared to when it's in the night. And the reason is because of photosynthesis. Now, photosynthesis is that big fucker up there, the sun. It will basically, the trees use it as light energy from the sun to be able to pull water and shit. Opposite of respiration, right? I'm not here to explain it, right? I don't really give a fuck. But it will use photosynthesis from the sun to pull water and transpire water, and that's why water is a waste product of photosynthesis, because it uses light energy, turns it into whatever it needs to make glucose and shit for the tree's growth and whatever, and then it will transpire water as a waste product. But water is actually sticky. They stick to each other. That's why when you pour water out of a glass, there's always like tiny little bubbles. I don't know if you notice this, but there's always tiny little fucking fuck. There's all these tiny little fucking bubbles that are still stuck to the glass because water's sticky. It sticks to shit, but you can't get all the water out of a cup, right? That's why. So water also sticks to other water molecules. So when the sun, or when the trees rather, use the sun to transpire water as part of photosynthesis, the water will stick to each other as molecules and pull the water all the way up the tree. And also, the water will stick to the inner layer of the trunk. So as it pulls through, it will pull the trunk walls inwards, and that's why it becomes thinner. In the night, when there's no sun, there's no photosynthesis, there's no water being pulled up and transpired out of the tree, so there's no water to pull the tree trunk inwards, and that's why a tree trunk is thicker in diameter at night compared to the day. Now, I remember that, not because I memorized it, because I genuinely understood the concept, and that's the purpose. You want to read around the subject, you want to play it in your mind, see what's happening, actually visualize if you can, and obviously it's quite difficult at the molecular level to understand and visualize. That's the whole point. Visualize what's happening. Why does it make sense? Genuinely ask yourself that question. Why does this shit make sense? Why does it work? And once you can piece the things together, then you can explain it and apply it to any context. That's the tricky part of exams. They'll give you one scenario where something works, like photosynthesis, and learning how it works, and associating it with the width of the tree. But they will give it to you in questions in the exam in different contexts. They'll talk about maybe you learn about like rabbits and that sort of way of the food chain, but then in the exam they talk about food chains of sea creatures. The answer is still the same, but the context is different, and that's where the majority of people trip up, and that's where memorization doesn't work. You need to learn the concept. So please spend the first third of the year learning and genuinely understanding concepts rather than memorizing them. And then during this period, you can also, what I like to call, create flashcards, create revision kind of material that will help you not only understand it, but memorize the understanding of the concepts that you're learning. You want both. You don't want just memorization or understanding. You need to memorize and understand both. They go hand in hand. And this is where you will do most of that in the first third of the year. Now, the second third of the year, from January to March, you will continue to do this creating thing and begin to learn. Continue to create flashcards, create revision material, whatever works for you. I can't give you the best one. I use flashcards on my phone. Probably not a good idea. Probably should have wrote them down. My argument at the time was that writing them down takes longer, but if I would have just started earlier, I wouldn't have bothered, and also less distraction from going on my phone. I mean, there was a benefit of being able to revise wherever I was because I always had my phone on me, but just take your flashcards with you somewhere. Just keep them in your bag, get them out, and don't mix them up, color coordinate, and whatever you have to do, right? This is where you'll be making the majority of your flashcards. You'll still continue to learn, so continue to understand concepts, but just take it off the back burner a little bit. Take it off the priority list for a little bit and put more of your priority onto making sure that you've made all the right revision material for you. Now, all this, by the way, that's happening in the first and second year, you can do while training. It doesn't take that long, right? A couple of hours per subject per week, 2 to 3 hours per subject per week is a sweet spot around here, and you will keep up comfortably, all while still understanding concepts, still hitting the gym, still hitting your cardio. You can do this. You just need to be a more productive member of society. I don't know how you want to work this in. Maybe don't have a job whilst you have A-levels. If you take the gym that seriously, you're living at home with your parents, it's completely fine, completely normal. I didn't get a job until halfway through year 12, and even then it was only like a few hours a week. Like, it wasn't that big, it was just a little bit of money for me to spend. Like, it wasn't that serious. You can ask for less hours, you can get a 0-hour contract, you can do shit, right? Maybe stop playing video games. Maybe this is a way to stop your bad habits because you put all your productivity into lifting and revising, and that is it. And going out with friends and seeing people and having fun times and working. That's it, right? So in a way where your life will get better, you'll be like, oh no, giving up video games, it's better, bro, I promise you. So this second period, you are creating revision material. That's your priority. That's what you spend your time on, 2 to 3 hours per subject per week. And then you'll get to the last semester, so the last third of the year, which is from around March till around, well, whenever your exams are, April, May, June, right? You will start learning and memorizing all the things that you've created over the past couple, well, 2/3 of the year. You'll create all your flashcards, all they'll be still caught up, and you'll begin to memorize them. So switch from the priority of being creating and more about memorizing and understanding concepts again. More so on the memorizing though, because you should have already understood the concepts. So now you are literally just memorizing word for word what you have created. Now there's a problem. You will still to continue to learn subjects as you are in this period. You've not finished your classes yet. So what I will say is you need to become extremely productive. Up the revision more. Dedicate an hour or two per subject per week to creating more revision material for the subjects that you're currently learning, and then spend another 2 to 3 hours per subject per week memorizing them and remembering them. And you'll get to around April at this point, and that's when you start past paper exams. This is the key. There's no point, this is why I've not included it here, starting past paper exams when you are early on in the year. You don't know enough about it yet, and you're not going to get that much ROI from it, because you're just going to read questions and be like, what the fuck is that? But now, when you're in April, you've memorized the majority of the concepts, and you can answer the majority of the questions if you are prepared enough, right? Now you can practice them, see what marks you get, and see how you're on track, and that will give you so much better like mental clarity going into the exam, because you'll know how well you're doing. Your average grade will be like what grade you get in the exam. And yeah, it's like one-offs, or good exams or good, or bad papers or average papers, you know what I mean? But like on an average, you will kind of know what grade you're going to get, and that just alleviates so much of the mental pressure. You won't have to spend 12 hours a day every day, no sleep, revising because you started too late. This way you can start really early, maintain your fitness throughout the entire way. Even up to your exam, you can still and should still have time to go to the gym. I went to the gym the night before my exam, bro, and I got an A in that exam. Like, what the fuck? I got an A in maths pure. What the fuck? I'll take that every day. I was not expecting that, you know? So, like, you can keep going to the gym during this period. And you don't have to sacrifice the sleep, the friends, the gym. You'll have a good mental health by keeping up these habits. You'll be in check. You'll know what type of grade you're expecting because of your average results in the past papers. A little tip for past papers is literally have the questions on the laptop, right? Because I didn't have a printer, so I couldn't print them out, and I didn't have a printer in school. Have the questions on the laptop and write the questions down in your book, and then just answer them as you go through. This way you can kind of gauge how long you will take in the exam, and if you need to speed up your technique or worsen your technique. And then just go through the mark scheme. Maybe even get a teacher to go through the mark scheme for you, because most teachers will have previous experience in marking and will not give you any bias. You will often bias the results that you give and give you a skewed answer of your past paper results. If you give it to a teacher, they will be brutally upfront and honest. And they can give you feedback as well, which is nice. So that's exactly how I would do it. Split the year up into thirds and just crack on as you go. Understand concepts, make the flashcards, learn them, practice papers. This will take you at max during peak exam season 6 hours per subject per week. That's like 2 hours a day maximum. Yeah, around 2-3 hours a day it is. So then you've got more than enough time to go to college, come back, go to the gym, still meet friends. It's perfect. That's exactly how you manage your time to ace your grades. That is as someone who got a pretty jacked physique. That's my bad arm, I promise, bro. Got a pretty jacked physique at 18 to 19 years old whilst leaving sixth form, and also got no less than a B grade in any of the hardest A levels in the country. I did maths, I probably should start with this. Maths, biology, PE. ABB. I'll take it every day of the week. That's how I did it, and that's how you're going to do it as well. I'm not even that intelligent, bro. Anyone can do it. So go and fucking do it.